Did you know that more than 90% of you are not subscribed? Let's fix that. Those are rookie numbers. Greetings one and all, my name is Lancer and this is gonna be an interesting one to talk about. So Oshi No Ko. It's an anime that's come out recently. It is a story written by the author Akasaka, who is the same author as Love is War. Pretty soon after Love is War Season 3 was finished, this was announced that this was getting adapted because it was a big thing, just like, yeah, the Love is War author, his other big work is being adapted, so that was a lot of the marketing for this one, but which is kind of sad because it's like a lot of the reason I think people really gave this series a chance is because it was by the same author as Love is War, which I mean is good, but let me just say, after finishing the first season of this, goddamn, this series stands so well on its own. So what is the story of Oshi No Ko? Well, let me give you a brief overview. So it first starts out, it's this guy, he's a gynecologist at this hospital, and he pretty much worships this idol who is Ai Hoshino, the main poster girl of this series. It's a series that's about idol culture in Japan, and he hopes that one day he can maybe meet her as the obsessed fan that he is, and one day someone who looks oddly like her comes in, and she's pregnant with twins. And of course, I and him talk and, you know, they bond a bit. And then on the day that the twins are going to be delivered, there's some weird stalker guy outside of the hospital. The doctor chases him. He gets pushed off a cliff and the doctor dies. And in his last moments, he reminisces and thinks about like, oh, I gotta help deliver those children. And just like, man, it must be nice to be a child of an idol star. Like, I wish I could be reborn as that kind of child. And then as he blinks from one life, he wakes up in the arms of that idol as a baby, and his new life as Aquamarine Hoshino, as well as his twin sister, Ruby Hoshino. Now, of course, as this part being a soft isekai, I'll get more on that in a minute, he keeps his memories from his previous life going into this new one, and it pretty much is these two kids growing up, and eventually learn this twin sister also died and was reborn as a child as well. It's revealed to us, and main guy has some suspicions, but the girl was the patient of the doctor in the previous life who was also obsessed with Ai and all that, so they both died in their previous lives and were reborn as Ai's children. Before we delve more into other more spoilery sides of the plot, I'm gonna delve into some of my opinions. Now, I neglected to put this in the binge cap for the season. I knew that I would cover this series in its own video, even before I watched it, just because, one, it's very popular, and two, I just had a feeling that it would hit me some kind of way. And goddamn did it did. I mean, it kind of had to, because if you don't know, the first episode premiere pretty much was a movie-length episode. It was like an hour 20. It was like just shy of being a feature-length film, which is kind of cheating, but at the same time is kind of awesome, because that pretty much is like half a season's worth of content in one episode. But at the same time, it felt like it was probably only like the first like 3 or 4 chapters of the story, but it was still paced amazingly well. From this point on, I'm gonna delve more into spoilers for the series, so if you haven't watched or read it yet, you might want to click away. The whole first 11 episodes of the series are done now, so if you want to watch it in its entirety, go for it. As we go forward with these children, as they get around the age of 3 years old, they're well accustomed to their new life. You know, they're very, obviously to other people, very smart children despite being extremely young. And of course, they are both just in love with their mother slash idol. And eventually at one point, Ai decides to reach out to the father, because it's not revealed who the father of these two kids are, but she foolishly reaches out to him and is like, hey, you should come and meet your kids. Like, they're really smart, they're great, they'd understand. She gives him their new address, and then the crazy stalker guy who killed the doctor shows up and stabs Ai. And if you've been around anime social media in the recent times, you will have seen this picture in one form or another. Unfortunately, I have seen this picture before actually watching this series, because to be fair, I wasn't jumping on it right away. I waited till about the second to last episode, and then I watched it, and then today, actually, I watched the last episode. Even then, it kind of made the first episode more fun to watch, just because it's like, I knew it would be taking a very dark turn. Ai is stabbed, and as she's dying, she gives it a very emotional and literally actually was very close to making me cry. I definitely got very teary-eyed. She's holding Aqua in her hands, being like, one day you could become an actor. She tells Ruby, it's just like, maybe one day you can become an idol, and that pretty much sets them on their life path. Or at the very least, it sets Ruby on her life path. And with Aqua, this was definitely the turning point where the series could have become boring or not boring, and it definitely is going down the interesting path, which is, it could have just been that, like, yeah, Ruby goes down the path of being an idol, Aqua goes down the path of being an actor. But Aqua does go down that path, but it's for the reason that he just wants to get close to maybe finding his biological father. Not so that he can meet him, but that so he can kill him, because Aqua, being obviously the smart child, there's no one who should have known where our new house is, because, you know, idol life, gotta keep it all secret. So it must have been our biological father who sent this guy to kill our mom. And the first episode ends very much with Aqua just being like, I now know what I must do. The whole first episode is pretty much like the childhood segment of these two characters, and then the bulk of the rest of the first season, at least, and pretty much probably the rest of the series, is like their teenage high school life. And that pretty much is all the first episode. Now let me just say, this author at some point must have watched or read Death Note and just must have been so infatuated with the character of Light, or even like watched Code Geass or something like that, because in both Love is War and this, like the main character just being this super smart and intelligent analytical person, like, you know, Miyuki in Love is War and now Aqua in Oshi No Ko. But I'm gonna be honest, I mean, to be fair, it's only been one season, but I think there's definitely potential for me to like Aqua more than Miyuki. That says a lot, just because Miyuki has become one of my favorite male main characters, at least in romance anime. Probably my favorite. I remember getting to the end of the first episode being like, I feel like this could be its own thing, because I remember so vividly just being like, all right, I feel like this is the peak episode, which in many ways it still kind of is. I expected it to go down from there, because like when you have like a movie length episode like that, and then the rest of the season is just 20-minute episodes, man, the rest of those episodes just went by so fast. I most likely am going to go into the manga for this, just because I'm definitely hooked as a motherfucker now. One thing though that is interesting going into the next chunk of the story is that, I'm sure this changes later in the story, but it doesn't really focus too much on Ruby. Like, it really doesn't. Like, it's mainly like the first episode and like a couple scenes here and there. Like, it mainly is focused on Aqua and Kana. Like, especially in these latest episodes, it pretty much is mainly Kana. And even like towards the middle section, it's focused on Akane, which I get what they're going for with that, which is like, there's still a romance aspect to this story, but for the most part, it is like a drama, mystery, supernatural type story. But there's that tinge of romance, and I like that because it's the kind of genre I'm really into. But I'm surprised how into Kana I was just as a character, because you can sort of see the path that she's gonna go down. Because I mean, the romance side of things, it's not what's important. It's the mystery side of just like, who's their father and will Aqua actually kill him? I think what I love most about Oshi No Ko is that, again, there's this whole preconceived thing, just like, yeah, same author as Love is War, so you kind of maybe expect that similar kind of tone and story, but then again, first episode definitely sets that tone. It's like, this is not a lighthearted story. I wouldn't even describe this story as lighthearted, because aside from obviously like the murder side of things and the dark tones, like the stuff it deals with like hit me harder than I expected. The story has a really good message about having an online presence, not even just online, but just like, you know, I don't know what's the word, just trying to be a celebrity, trying to become like some big name. Like, because normally in anime and stories like this, it's like they don't specifically say like, oh, YouTube or TikTok or like all these different social media platforms. It like has a twist on those names, but in this it's like, oh, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok. It's like it specifically just names those properties, and it's like, damn. All right, so it really makes it feel like be able to insert yourself even more, especially me as an up-and-coming YouTuber. Like, this show gave a lot of really good insights into just idol culture and like social media culture that doesn't just specifically apply to Japan. It's like it applies to the entire world. It's like they would be saying things just like how to really grow a channel or like how to garner like public play or anything like that, and it's like, yeah, that's nuts. Both when it talks about the idol side of things and then with like Aqua's story of him becoming an actor, but then, you know, his ulterior motive for that. Like even delving into his acting side of things, like it hit me more than I thought I would, because there was a point in time where I was very focused on acting, more stage acting rather than like movie or TV acting. And it kind of brought me back a bit just to be like, I've adopted some of these acting techniques, at least a little bit. And even then, I still sort of apply them, like going into like YouTube stuff and doing like skits and everything. But just another thing I'll praise about this show. God damn, it's so well drawn. Like animation is also really good, but like I don't really notice it. It's more the art direction in this is very sharp. It's very like eye-catching. It's like the complete opposite of like the Clannad thing, where it's like the eyes are so distinct, I guess. It's like they're obviously very Moe and Sailor Moon-esque, but I don't know, there's still something unique about it. Obviously with like Aqua, Ruby, and Ai, it's like the starfish eye thing. See, obviously watching the show, like you see those and it's like, is that actually what their eyes look like? But then later on there's a character who sort of adopts the Ai persona, the character of Ai. Her eyes actually look like that, and so that clicked, and it's just like, okay, so the eyes are just an aesthetic thing, it's not actually what they look like. But even still, there's so many shots of like Ai in this show, and it's just like, this is so beautiful. Obviously this is gonna get a second season. I wouldn't be surprised if by tomorrow that it's announced. I mean, of course it's gonna be announced, but when it's gonna come, who knows? Probably either next year or most likely later years, which is why I'm most likely going to jump into the manga, because this story is one I need to see more of, because this was very fun and very awesome, and I want some conclusion. It's still going, right? It looks as though it is still going, which that's crazy, which sucks, because that means I'm going to start reading it and then I'm going to catch up, then I have to wait. Going back to characters, yeah, that's the one thing. It's like Ruby is like, I guess, the second main character of this, because like Ruby's side of the story is that she's like getting this idol group together and she's sort of revitalizing, you know, her mother's old idol group. Like, you know, she gets this popular YouTuber, and then obviously Kana like is a part of it as well. I'm sure it'll eventually turn to the point where it becomes Ruby's group, but for the most part right now it's Kana's group, which is why it's just like Kana feels more like the main character right now than Ruby. I mean, not the main character, but like, you know, like when you look at it, it's like it's the twins of Ruby and Aqua. Although I would definitely say for the most part, in terms of a main character, Aqua is the main character. Also, let me say, all you horny bastards out there, stop shipping Aqua and Ruby. Get your Orimo out of my Oshi No Ko. Just get it out of everything. Orimo needs to die forever. I already know, because I broke down the thought process, because I'm weird as well. It's like, is it technically incest? Physically, yes. Mentally, you can question that. But overall, is it ethical? No. So stop doing that. I don't want to see more of that shit on my timeline. But overall, what would I give this first season of Oshi No Ko? It's interesting. I don't feel like I could give it a 10 out of 10, because at the same time, this season was so short, despite the first episode being very long. What kind of era are we in now? Like, why can't we have like 20 plus episode seasons anymore? It's like, I swear Jujutsu Kaisen is the only one that still does that. Like, why are we now limited to 12 episodes? Like, this wasn't even a 12 episode season. It was only 11 episodes. Can you have shorter seasons? Sure. But make the episodes longer. Like, make them all like an hour in length or something. I know I'm asking a lot from the anime industry, but still. That's why I love Hellsing Ultimate so much. It's like, that was a 10 episode series and each episode was an hour, bro. We were Game of Thrones-ing this shit. But either way, what would I give Oshi No Ko in terms of a score? Don't feel like I can give it a 10 out of 10 because it doesn't feel complete. Like, I feel like I needed just a little bit more. I needed like that one extra episode and I felt like it could have been complete. But still an easy 9 out of 10. No doubt. As I read more and more, it'll probably go up to a 10 out of 10, but we'll see. But either way, if you haven't already, definitely check out Oshi No Ko. It is quite the experience, to say the least. I mean, another thing I didn't really praise, like the music side of it, you know, having that idol J-pop music, it's very good. And also just the normal music as well is really good. Absolutely check it out. Join me for many other reviews to come in the future, reactions, gameplay, and everything. It's going to be a lot of fun. So until next time, I'm Lancer. Thanks for watching.